Hi everyone, this is Dan from the Future Holds Crypto. I haven't done any videos because I haven't felt like reporting news or discussing the price very much. I do have a Twitter account, and of course, I'm quite active there. But I'm not using this YouTube channel to just create hype like Bitcoin went up 10% and then I'm gonna create a video. Whoa, Bitcoin went up 10%, it will never stop. And the next day, if it goes up down 5%, like other people in crypto, oh no, it's going down. I mean, exactly, they report the price like we don't have coin market cap. I don't care. I'm looking more into the people that have long-term visions and are not changing them overnight, because this is a better way of not getting wrecked, right? I mean, if you change your opinion based on a 5% price in crypto, you're not doing it right. But of course, they also do it for the hype and getting the likes and the engagement farming, right? But yeah, not there are a few people that have a very good long-term vision, or a long-term vision, and I respect that even if it's wrong, right? But what I wanted to say today is that we are approaching the halving event. Basically, things are kind of going as expected to plan. I have people contacting me already. Oh, Bitcoin has risen in price. Crypto has risen in price. Surprised, right? As I told them, look, why are you surprised? This is the it happens for each 4 years, and we have the halving event coming soon. But there are a couple of differences here and a couple of things that I want to comment. First of all, the ETF drama with the Bitcoin. Yes, we are lucky to have the ETFs approved, and I think that's important because it creates an easier way for big institutions to get into the Bitcoin. But if you remember that time, a lot of hype was there, and uh, I commented back in December 4th. On December 4th, it's look out. We're approaching a very important area of resistance. It's the golden pocket, Fibonacci retracement zone, and usually in the past, we went through a correction or even a reversal on the short term or medium term, right? And of course, we were approaching that area, and people were hyped and were saying that it will grow infinitely, it won't stop because institution will pour money and stuff like that. When this is the narrative, you should ask yourself, you should be scared. You shouldn't be happy, right? And this is something you need to remember. You should be excited when the prices are low. I know it's hard. It's much harder said than done, but when Bitcoin was 16, 17, that's when it was important to be excited. Because if you understand what Bitcoin does and why it is needed, you know that it would recover. And then the discussions of, oh no, it's still going to 12K, which didn't happen. Of course, it doesn't matter if you bought a 15K or 12K. The important thing is that important buys can happen there, 15 or lower, and should get excited there. You don't get excited when you hear the news like this. Whoa, it's gonna go to infinite. Everybody talks about Bitcoin. You receive calls, and then it's all over the place and all over the news. And the BlackRock CEO comes in and says the Bitcoin is a digital gold. Yeah, I mean, this is important on the long term, and it will matter on the long term, but not on the short term. And on the short term, when things like this happen, you should be concerned, right? And the fact is that when we of course, when the ETF launched, we had a correction, right? It was not something major, but still it happened there. And I'm going to talk about the price and how the evolution in a bit. But what I wanted to say is that I heard this someone, for example, saying that what sell the news event? It's been to around 40K throughout the whole December. It's nothing happened. What sell the news? He was expecting a much bigger price raise, but If you look at it, if you see here, the pump started on October 23rd when the news of grayscale swing at the SEC for the approval of the Bitcoin ETF hit the markets. That's exactly when the pump started, exactly on the day of that news hitting the market. And we basically, it already pumped, right? So it was already a 50% pumped that started on the 23rd of October. So that's what I'm saying is that yeah, the correction was very probable, right? So keep in mind the fact that you see people very excited, you shouldn't. You should be scared, and if you see everything around all of everything, if you see it all over the place, it's even more scarier. But now it depends. Look at the trend, right? If it's a macro bull trend, it doesn't matter on the long term, and sometimes it stays in like a grid or extreme grid period for a while now. But that's one point that I wanted to make, and another one is that if you, it's interesting that we basically hit um, an interesting point in time, and actually I'm gonna stick to this. If you see here, usually in the past, in 2016, we hit this Fibonacci, the 0618 golden retracement, the golden pocket of the Fibonacci zone, and basically we corrected, and then it took a while since we got above it, and then printed a new all-time high. In 2020, actually 2019, we hit it and then we went down for a while now, and then we printed a new all-time high in 2020 by the end of the 2020 year in December, close to January 2021, right? So it took a while. Now, it's interesting because this is the first time when we hit the resistance, we corrected. It was not a very big one at that, right? And then we closed the first week over the entire golden pocket, right? That means over 6065. So we are closing the 07802 below the 7078, but it's still a danger zone until we get out of this zone entirely, over 57K or something like that. But still, it's the first time when we close a weekly candle over the golden pocket. And this usually happens not as easily as it happened this time. And this is interesting because if you see in the past, whenever we did something like this, we printed a new all-time high. We printed a new all-time high, or actually we reached the previous all-time high quite fast, and then we printed a new one in a short time, if you ask me. So it's something that it's important to notice, I think. Sorry about that. But definitely, this is something we need to look at because it's the first time it does it so fast. And maybe we might be close to the previous all-time high quite fast now. Now, of course, keep in mind, we're still in the danger zone. This is a possible reversal or correction zone, especially until we break the 0786, the 57K region. However, from a structural perspective, there's not a lot of resistance here, right? Mostly psychological related to Fibonacci's, but still, it's important to look at this area. Now, there's another theory that is kind of scary, if you ask me, because we have overextended for the stock market. So there's another theory. For example, BC Becker is very fond of this. Not fond, but he has been very consistently exposing this in more than one, actually 2 years, I think. The fact that Bitcoin halving is just not necessarily the only driver of the Bitcoin price. It also happened with due to the falling of the general market. And if we look at the Dow Jones now, it's from extension from Fibonacci extension since the 2008 crisis. It's very close to a 4.236 Fibonacci extension, and it's danger zone reversal. And he's saying if the general market is going down, Bitcoin is not necessarily going to do well, right? And of course, it makes a lot of sense. So this is this is something to remember here. However, if you look at the SP 500, S&P 500, it's already printed a new time high, and if you want to compare it to the 2008, it already broke the 4.236 extension. Now, if we were to compare, to go to the Dow Jones again and see, for example, you see that here in 2000, when we had the crisis, and then the crisis in 2008, you see that we did hit a new high in 2008 quite shortly. If this is a mini structure that resembles that, it's still, we need some leeway, for example, until we go around here, somewhere around here, and hopefully at least that can happen. But even in the past, it's looking at the past, I mean, for example, a big crisis from 87, not all the 4.236 extension is not always going with a big correction. It was a correction here, but not big enough, right? The only, for example, the one from the 74, sorry, it did have a correction of the 4. It was exactly here in the crisis from 87. So not sure exactly what's going to happen here. It's important convergence of different structures in the market, and in this, the geopolitical sector is quite complicated at this point. So I'm still hopeful that we go through, but it is, I mean, it is scary, right? It is scary, and if you see someone telling you what is going to happen, they don't know. They're lying to you. But however, I'm still hopeful because, for example, even if it's a crisis happening, it's important to understand what type of crisis, right? Because if it's a banking crisis, it's possible that Bitcoin will still be doing well. So you know that in 2023 we had a banking sector collapse, or a couple of banks, mid-level banks, collapsing in US, like Silicon Valley, and those basically the first wave that collapsed was in March 2023. What happened then? Let's make it more dramatic from a price perspective. So Bitcoin basically did the first print of the big candle, right? Upward candle. So if it is, I mean, it was a third 28% pump, and then afterwards it was a 40% quite fast, and then you know what happened. Since then, basically it was the major push up, the second major push up, because the first one in 2020 was in January. But since then, since that banking collapse, we had a 138% increase in the price of Bitcoin. So, you know, Bitcoin was one of the reasons created for the Bitcoin creation was exactly to help people in situations like this. And I think it was the first time when we saw Bitcoin tested in this context. And I was actually looking at the price back then, saying, okay, this is will be interesting, because if Bitcoin does not increase, it's a bit scary, right? Because it's not working as intended. But it did, right? So it was a really important moment in time for Bitcoin, if you ask me. It performed like it was created to perform. So even if it's a crisis, if it's a banking crisis, it might be the case where Bitcoin actually gets another boost, right? There are a lot of types of crisis, economical crisis that can happen. I have no idea what is going to happen, but I'm still hopeful. And also, having the halving event, um, I mean, if you want to keep it more simple, I'm still hopeful because the the supply and demand rule is simple and is going to matter again, right? People are kind of dissing that sometimes very easily, and after this halving event, Bitcoin is the first time when they will have the stock to flow lower than gold. So I think it's going to receive a boost of that also. However, we'll have to look at this because this is happening quite fast. It might be the case where a lot of people are waiting for the 2025 and maybe end of 2025 as the previous cycles went. Maybe this time it will be shorter or faster. I'm not sure. Nobody knows, but still, it's something to look at the progression and how it goes. Also related to the Dow Jones and the if you compare it for example, you have here two. No, let me go to the Dow Jones. We had this structurally, if we follow this like a smaller pattern of this one, 2020 2008. At that point in time, the S&P 500 blocked the same. It was basically a double top, right? It never went over the 2000 top. In this case, we already printed a new all-time high. I'm not sure if it matters yet, but a little difference there. So basically, I'm gonna keep my plan. That's why I didn't do a lot of videos. If you look at my previous videos, the plan was to follow the what Bitcoin does usually and crypto market do usually, because going through making separate strategies for everything, it's quite hard, and I would rather prefer to stick on the facts, right? So it did this in the past. It was reliable on the halving event. Of course, the adoption is growing. The supply is going down. More people want to get into it. Basic, very simple math will probably be helpful here. So, another thing that I wanted to mention is that a lot of people are saying it will be a altcoin alt season, and yes, of course, I think it will happen. But some people will say that we will have an alt season without having a new Bitcoin all-time high. That never happened. And if you're talking about some minor crypto that appeared and in a million %, I'm not talking about those types. That's kind of lottery. I'm talking about the total market cap because it's the easiest way and the best way to look at the prices, right? How many cryptos do we have at this point? Let me see. We have a lot, right? I think they don't even have a number, but we have over 12,000 cryptocurrencies out there, so we should better look at the total market cap than compared to each individual ones. But what I'm saying is that basically people are saying that we have an alt season without a new Bitcoin all-time high, and I'm saying that in the past, altcoins went nuts only after Bitcoin created the new all-time high, right? So if you see here, this is when Bitcoin created a new all-time high, and then the altcoin market went ballistic. Also, here, this is when Bitcoin created a new all-time high. the altcoin market went ballistics as well. I mean, this still matters, but this is, I believe, that is more important. And I would believe that we are somewhere here. And if the market grows, we'll have something like this at least, right? So this is not an altcoin season, and I would suspect that we will have an altcoin season only if Bitcoin does a new all-time high, because the market needs, I mean, it's still following Bitcoin. And when Bitcoin creates a new all-time high, even a small one, basically, let's say it was 69K, if it went 69.5K, it's already important because it's basically, it gives an okay to the market, right? So basically, I'm waiting for a new all-time high there for the altcoin market to explode. The good news is that, again, it's important to see what happens here, because it kind of happens quite fast. I mean, this is the first time when we had this, and as we discussed the first part of the video. So this is what I wanted to discuss today. Thank you for watching, and see you the next time.